Alexa, is there a fix for my 4xe Jeep Wrangler?
From ConsumerReports.org. The automaker recalled 32,000 Wrangler 4Z SUVs last year to address a similar defect, and those vehicles will need to be returned to the dealership for the latest recall fix.
Welcome back to the channel. We're talking again about recalls, and we've got an update on the 95B recall here. This is the exact documentation that goes from Jeep to the dealership. I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of information here, but we are going to talk about some questions that you might have. So let's get started. Chris Hall from 4xe Fans has done a really good job of trying to get the 4xe group to pay attention to recalls, specifically the B9A and the 04B. I think I got that right. Basically, it's the last battery recall combined, or not combined with, but in addition to the defrost recall. If you have the defrost recall and you have just been ignoring it because you're like, it's a defrost recall, I'm not worried about it, don't. And here's why, and this is my personal opinion, and there's a few things in here that are gonna kind of solidify this. I personally think that the B9A recall came out and they put a list of all these VIN numbers in the B9A. I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe they found something that maybe your Jeep didn't qualify, but we're not really quite sure. Again, it's my personal opinion, I could be way off. I think that I'm gonna use the term hid behind this defrost recall to kind of get some of these other Jeeps in. And the reason I'm saying this is all of the computer programming software that's happening in the B9A recall is the exact same programming you're finding in this defrost recall. So they're kind of just sandwiching them together, maybe in hopes of like, hey, this Jeep really didn't qualify for the B9A, but let's just make sure we give all these Jeeps the same update. So if you have that 04B recall or the B9A recall, get it done now. And even in here, it's going to tell you that the B9A and the 04B still needs to be done regardless of the 95B. And contrary to that, it does say once the 95B recall is done, it supersedes all of them. We're going to talk about that in a second. What is this publication? Well, this is basically something that goes from Jeep to the dealership, and it's the communication between the dealerships and the customer. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that this did not come out or not immediately come out when the B9A recall came out in the ZB7. And if you recall, there were a lot of dealerships that were doing recalls wrong. There was practices that were happening wrong. People were getting their recalls done in under an hour. It should have taken 8. I think what Jeep is trying to do is tighten up their methodologies and tighten up what the communication is between the dealership and themselves, which I think is great. As of today, as of the date this video comes out, there is no fix for this 95B recall. I'm seeing people online saying, oh, I brought my Jeep in and I already had it fixed. There isn't one yet. So if you're having recalls fixed, it's likely the 04B or the B9A. Keep that in mind. So this is called the Plug-in Hybrid Resource Guide. This is version prior to Remedy. Exactly my point. There's not a whole lot of information here, but there's a few things I think that are interesting. I'll read through it real quick. To assist with this campaign, the resource guide has been developed to ensure an exponential level of customer service and an efficient execution during the repair process. Just exactly what we talked about, right? This document encompasses important dealer procedures, owner communication, customer handling, and FAQs. That one we'll get to in a second. I think there's the most interesting one there. We know what this applies to. We know what the vehicle risk is. They're telling you not to charge. They're saying that they're mailing the letters out to customers. A final notification we mailed the owners, advising them to call their dealership to schedule an appointment. They're telling dealerships to have one central point of contact, have one person that's basically in charge of this. And I'm sure that's so communication stays tight. Again, I think that's a great thing. It also says vehicles with an open B9A recall should be continued as serviced immediately. Guys, if you have open recalls, get them to the dealer, okay? Included in this customer care process provides specific actions to ensure compliance and enhance customer experience. Jeep wants their customers to have a good experience. They know we've got some frustrated people out there. They're doing their best to make sure they're handling it right. I think this is kind of a sign of what happened with that B9A recall. We're counting on your expertise and support to provide these customers and their vehicles to the highest priority in your stores. This is where being a good dealer comes into play. I've seen online there are people that are waiting months to get new batteries in the past for the B9A or whatever it may be. Guys, I will tell you, Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is on top of all of these recalls. They are in the forefront for 4xe customers, and they are one of the dealerships that is doing this right. So keep that in mind. Ray and Fox Lake, please. They know what's going on and they are paying attention. I'm not saying others don't, but I have firsthand experience, all right? Again, this goes through fixed operations, best practices. It talks about proper customer handling. I'll put this document at the end of this video if you want to sit through and read it all. Dealer best practices. So again, the dealership is getting communication from Jeep. How do we make our customers happy? All right, so I think overall this is a very good thing. If customers are concerned, it tells them where to go. The recall notice is here. We've been through that. I'm not going to go through that again. If you don't know what the recall notice is, please check out the other video. I'll post a link for it. Here are the kind of the interesting ones, and I think there's well, whatever. There's not a lot of meat here, so it's interesting. But all right. So question: what's causing the fires? Answer: we're working to confirm the cause. Affected customers will be advised when the service becomes available. Guys, I don't think they know what's causing them. And if they, or they want to be 100% sure, because I truly think all of these recalls are somewhat related. And I don't know that the root cause has ever been found. I think the B9A, if you had a battery replaced in your recent B9A, you might be getting another battery. So keep that in mind. Just because you had a new battery put in doesn't mean you're free of this recall. When will you complete your investigation? As you would imagine, we're working expeditiously as possible, consistent with scientific and engineering discipline. Our investigation will conclude when we are satisfied we have identified the root cause or causes of these incidences. Well, it's pretty straightforward. When will the remedy become available? Well, obviously, if they don't know the problem, they don't have a remedy, right? A remedy is imminent, and effective customers will be notified when they may schedule their service. So again, if you've had your Jeep into service, it's not for this recall, you guys, okay? Keep that in mind. When will customer notification begin? It probably already did. Mailing U.S. customers is expected to begin Q4 in 2024. Can customers still drive the vehicles? Jeep says yes. They say that all fires only occurred when vehicles were turned off and parked. And as we know, it doesn't say here, as we know, having those high voltage batteries charged increases the fire risk. They are saying they have not seen any fires while the vehicle is being driven. What is this one's an interesting one, and I think I'm going to do a separate video on this one later. So please follow, subscribe, and we're going to follow up on this one because I think this one's interesting. What is the company going to do for customers that cannot use the electric feature on these vehicles? Right? A lot of us bought these vehicles and are seeing, I'm going to use the term gas mileage in a layman's term. Chris Hall, again, does a great job talking about MPGE. We're not going down this rabbit hole in this video, but we bought these vehicles for this increased mileage and increased range and savings, right? Well, now we can't use it. Here's the answer. U.S. customers with questions or concerns may call 1-800-853-1403. Guys, I'm curious. Later today, I'm going to call that phone number and I'm going to make a little recording and I'm going to see what they say. Are they going to reimburse us? Is the squeaky wheel going to get greased? Are they offering? I can't imagine Jeep's going to be like, yeah, everyone's going to get a $500 this or that. I imagine maybe if you call and complain, they'll do something for you. I don't know, but I know I'm seeing higher bills at the pump with this inconvenience. And I know I'm not alone. I know that people are frustrated. So I'm curious what the real answer is, that if that's going to be an individual case by case. Where do I send a customer if they have additional questions? Remember, this is for the dealership's publication. Again, call the same 1-800 number, and there's a different number for Canada. I'll post that in here. What happens if a JL customer asks about a prior B9A recall? As said before, B9A service should continue to be performed, and the B9A will supersede once the remedy for the 95B is available. So that tells me, guys, they want to get this software updated. And if you go back to that B9A recall, that was a software update. And even the one before that. So if the Jeep detects there is an issue, it's going to throw a code and it's going to tell you things that it might not tell you before. So if you're driving around with an unserviced B9A recall and this battery issue happens, the Jeep communication, the Jeep software may not recognize it, and you may have a larger problem where if you have the B9A recall done, you might get a heads up that, hey, there's a problem happening, even though the 95B is not fixed. So in that intermediate time, get all your recalls up to date. It's really, really important that your Jeep is up to date on the recalls. Now, if you happen to get this 95B recall done, you're up to date on them all. But in the meantime, go get it done, all right? Recall assistance, there's a dedicated team Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Eastern Time, 1-800-853-1403. So again, there's not a ton of information here, but what I think is good to see is that Jeep is sending this out to the manufacturer, to the dealerships rather, and they want to make sure the customers are having a good experience. I know there's a lot of us that didn't have a good experience with these other recalls. I personally did. Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, there's a technician there that will has a direct communication with engineering. In fact, I know they just replaced a battery yesterday and they had some findings that I think actually helped engineering with some of the processes that you're probably going to see in this B9A this 95B recall. So check out Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. If they're not local to you, make the trip. I know we've had some people come from states away just to get serviced here at Ray. They support our channel, and that's not even why I'm telling you to go there. They're good people, but more importantly, they're on top of this recall. They're on top of the hybrid system. They have techs that have been there and been in the Chrysler industry for 35 years and have been hybrid trained, Viper trained, SRT trained. So they really take care of it. The other thing you're seeing is some of these dealerships are telling their customers it's 2 to 3 months to get a new battery. Ray will tell you it could be up to a month, but they are getting it done. And they're also making sure that you either have a loaner car or you get that enterprise car covered for the duration of the time that your vehicle is in service. If your vehicle does not get covered under that, if you do not get a loaner car, you do not get a rental car, or it goes beyond a certain amount of time, and the dealership says, sorry, Jeep's not paying for it, it's likely the dealership didn't follow the proper procedures to get your vehicle done. So Jeep is declining the claim for the loaner car because it's not on Jeep at that point. The dealership didn't do the right paperwork or they didn't do the right procedures to order the battery. If you're working with a dealership that orders the battery in time and they follow the proper steps, Jeep's covering that loaner car for the duration of the time that your Jeep is being repaired. Having said that, it shouldn't be more than 30 days if they're following all the steps. I'm curious, are you charging? Are you not charging? Jeep is obviously recommend that you don't charge. This is as of the 16th of October. This is where we're at with the B9A recall. I keep calling it the B9A recall, I'm sorry. This is where we're at with the 95B recall. Guys, stay tuned. I'm gonna do a call. I'm gonna see what Jeep says about those of us who can't charge, what they're doing for us. As always, like and subscribe. We're trying to keep you guys up to date with all of the potential information we can. Remember, follow our channel. Myself and Chris Hill next week, we're gonna do a live talk. It'll be on Facebook, Instagram, and right here on YouTube. And we're gonna answer questions and we're gonna talk all about the 4xe platform. So check it out. I'll post a link to that here as well. And be sure to join and come with questions. It's gonna be a first, maybe first of many. And as always, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.